Welcome back to iHeartRadio So Bad It's Good. Today we have somebody that's so good it's great, a returning guest that I haven't spoken to, it feels like probably a year and a half or something. And listen, astrology is something that scares the crap out of me because it's so, I feel like I can't understand it. I feel like I don't know what to pay attention to or what to read or where to look. And our next guest shows us exactly where to look, what to read. There is so much information on everything that she is a part of, which is so much. She's a celebrity astrologer, author, and host. She is a star in modern spirituality, and she's been featured in so many publications. The New York Times. She was on the Drew Barrymore show. You might be reading her articles on The Cut, which I just read 2 of, and it's amazing. She's a very familiar voice on podcasting. Her Constellation Club, which I want to talk about as well, has so many events this month, but also what we're going to be focusing on today, which I'm so excited. She has a manifestation deck and guidebook called There Are No Coincidences. It came out in November, and this would have been the perfect holiday gift, but I'm telling you, it's the perfect gift now. It's the perfect gift to give your friend. It's the perfect Valentine's Day gift, but these things are going to actually help you. We're going to just talk about it. Aliza Kelly, welcome back to the show.
Hello. Oh, it's Aliza.
Aliza, sorry, I did it again. I did the same thing the first time. Oh my gosh. I
honestly
Aliza.
should just put phonetically in the Zoom. I think after
no,
this,
I did this the exact, I remember that's like a jolt through. I did it the same. Aliza Kelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's so nice to be back.
So this manifestation deck and guidebook, these are like it's like 44 cards, right? Like, how would you describe this to somebody that would be purchasing it?
Sure. So it's 44 cards of signs, symbols, and synchronicities. And really sort of the impetus behind this is that so often someone will ask me, I just saw this bird, or I had this experience where I saw 1111, or I had this encounter and it felt really meaningful and really spiritual. So I wanted to sort of create that experience in an oracle deck, which you can use for sort of like having a daily pull to be like, what should I look out for today? Or for guidance and clarity on a specific matter in your life. So sort of like in lieu of seeing a bird, actually, if you pull the card and you get the bird's card, then it's the messages that correspond with what birds mean to you. And then, of course, because, there are no coincidences, the shorthand of that is tank, which is sort of like an expression that we say, almost like when you say jinx, it's like when something happens that's like, oh, it can't just be coincidence. It has to be something more tank, right? So then the tank, of course, is that then you're going to be more tuned in to like what birds are flying by your window or what you're seeing or what you're encountering. So I wanted to sort of fold these experiences of like, what does it mean and what should I look out for into a single package?
How do you even begin to do this? Like, I thought about this the last time of just like, you really have to have this gift to be able to even want to do this, but to be able to harness all of these things and put it in a deck. How long did this take you to even come up with? Because it seems like harnessing the impossible.
Well, interestingly, this was definitely probably, working on this deck was maybe the closest that I ever had to that flow state that people talk about.
Yeah.
Which was really very cool because, this is my 4th book, my 4th project of this sort of magnitude. And it's hard writing a book, like even when you have the proposal and what you're going to be writing about, like just, it's challenging to get all of these ideas out and then make sure that you're articulating them, not just well, but also like poetically, and that you're crafting something that's going to be meaningful and impactful. But with this deck, I think because so much of it was material that I had been exploring just, in my own like musing and intellectual journaling and then work with clients over the years, that when it came to creating this and creating the cards for it, it really just like, it felt very organic and it just sort of like, oozed out of me, which was amazing because it was a really fast deadline, so it also needed to.
So I could actually literally also ask, like you said, that deck a question during the like the morning and pull a card. It can work that way as well, correct?
Totally. Yep.
Wow. So, and does this, you also, I noticed you were, you're kind of the advisor for Bumble in terms of relationships and things like that. Can you use this deck for relationship questions? Can you, I mean, can you
Yeah,
go that
totally.
specific?
Totally. I think the cool thing about this deck is that it's really versatile. So there's, in the guidebook, I offer some suggestions of how to use it and the type of questions that you could ask, the type of ways that you could look at the cards. But because this deck is filled with symbols and messages, it can also be a conversation starter. So you could also pull a card and, two people could say, what does this mean to me? What does this symbol suggest? What are the types of themes that are coming up when I see something like this? And that could be a really great way, especially, as we're mentioning for Valentine's, of getting to know each other better.
In I think I spoke to you last in 2021, and I think you were in the city in New York in your apartment, and now I notice you're in a beautiful room with like beautiful greenery in the background. I was like, what a change. What was your 2022 like? And spiritually and astrology wise, was it, how was it in terms of even predictions for yourself?
Well, 2022 was a very big year for me because I got married. So that was a very obviously, this is going to be a very notable year in my life because of that. But the 2022, holistically speaking, was a 6 year in numerology. And that in tarot is associated with the Lover's card. It's associated with Gemini energy. So it very much was this year about making connections, finding partnership, or, moving away from partnership that isn't working too. I also know that in addition to a lot of people getting partnered up in 2022, there were a lot of uncouplings happening throughout this last year as well,
Yeah.
which is also just as significant, to know who you shouldn't be with, whether that's romantically or professionally or just interpersonally. And now moving into 2023, we're entering a 7 year, which is associated with the Chariot in tarot, and then also Cancer in astrology. So the energy is sort of shifted from this very mercurial, curious vibe to something that's a little bit more grounded, a little more soulful, maybe a little more spiritual. And really, I think that this year ahead, we're sort of building on a lot of the themes that came out in 2022. And we're thinking about, how do I relate to other people? How do I relate to the world? And now we're taking that information, or we're being like, okay, and now how has that changed me? How am I going to
Yeah.
continue to grow from that?
You even saw that in pop culture with the uncoupling and coupling of, you had the Ben Affleck and J-Lo marriage. You had Harry and Olivia breaking up. You had Pete and Kim breaking up. Kanye and Julie. You had
Totally.
so many things that you could point to even in pop culture, which is a lot of the things that I study. But it is funny that is, the celebrities, they're just stars. They're just like us. I was looking at your Instagram, which is just so damn good. You guys already follow her, but if you don't, you got to follow her. And I'm going to put all that information in the description. You were talking about manifesting. Like, was it last night was the manifesting night, or like, how does it go for like, when are we, what do we have to do in this new year to set ourselves up spiritually and with astrology?
So at the time of this recording, we are on the precipice of the first full moon of 2023, which is really exciting, because in a lot of ways, from a mystical perspective, well, this is going to get very esoteric, so bear
No,
with
I
me for
love
a
it. By
moment.
the way, I got to tell you, every time I talk to Aliza, yeah, I start getting teary. Like, I don't know what it is, but I start like tearing up, and I don't usually do that. But for some reason, you're like, it's like a really weird, it's like a good vibe, but you start getting like, because I feel like I'm getting closer to some kind of universal truth when I
Oh
talk to
my
you.
gosh,
And so
Ryan.
I like start tearing up, and I don't know what it is, but I
Oh
don't
my
do this when I talk
gosh.
about how. So I'm like, sorry if I start getting emotional, but I'm like, what? I'm like 11 minutes in, and I'm like tearing up. Like, I don't know what it is.
Oh
Sorry.
my
Okay.
gosh, that's
Sorry.
so moving to me. That
Yeah.
makes me feel so good.
So sorry.
Thank you. Well, from a very esoteric and mystical perspective, we can say that the first of anything is going to sort of set the precedent and the tone for what that experience or event is, right? So
Yeah.
even like, the first day that you start a new job, if we were to pull an astrology chart for that moment, that's going to give us a lot of information, not just about when you walk in a room, but also what your whole experience is going to be working somewhere. So because this is the first full moon of the new year of 2023, this full moon is giving us a lot of information about what full moons are going to be in the year 2023, but also, even more broadly speaking, what release is going to look like in the year of 2023.
Huh.
Because full moons are associated with the sort of exhale of the manifestation cycle, which is when we're letting go of things and we're reflecting and we're reviewing. So 2023 first full moon is a full moon in Cancer, and it's actually a really beautiful lunation. It's not a, it's sometimes, and for the past couple of new moons and full moons that we've had, they've been really like challenging ones. And I think that we've all felt this collectively. You know, the end of this past year has been, it's felt really hard. And I think a lot of us were just like really burnt out and feeling really fatigued and really exhausted. And this new moon has a lot of, or this full moon rather, has a lot of energy baked into it. It's making this really beautiful connection to the planet Uranus, which is about innovation and progress and change. And sometimes this planet can be kind of like a troublemaker, but because it is being so positively aspected, we're getting the good stuff of it. You know, we're seeing like potential for really breaking the mold and starting new projects and finding that sort of like spark of genius within ourselves. In addition, we also have Mercury retrograde, which is playing a very important role in this moon. And even though Mercury retrograde has like a horrible reputation, and like rightfully so, it makes things really chaotic and confusing and annoying.
I just know I start seeing a lot of Instagram posts when Mercury and I start seeing the Mercury and Gatorade. I start seeing all those, and I know that something bad's going to happen to me.
Yeah,
but you say that's not necessarily the case. They might just have a bad reputation.
Yeah, it's really everyone's favorite scapegoat at this point. But the thing is with Mercury retrograde, and it's my personal philosophy astrologically, that none of these planetary movements are here to destroy us and to ruin our lives. They're here to help us look at life from a different perspective. So when Mercury retrograde happens, we're looking at communication from a different perspective. We're thinking about the past from a different perspective, which is amazing for exhaling 2022 and finding new ways to set intentions or resolutions or whatever you want to call them for the year ahead. And obviously resolutions are like, as a concept, like a little cheesy and a little played out. But I do think that whenever we have an opportunity to start something new, whether we want to assign that to a new year or we want to assign that to a new hour, it's a really magical portal for us to step through. And we're going to have a change in mindset around that.
So I'm going to release this tomorrow, Friday. When is the new moon? When is it?
So the full moon is, I believe it's at, let me see, I think it's at 3:00 in the morning.
Tonight.
Yeah. Oh, so it's actually it's on Friday, January 6th at 6:08 p.m. is the full moon in Cancer.
So that's perfect. So I'll release this. So what then, the listeners out there, besides getting this deck and guidebook, what should we be doing tomorrow in preparation for this? Is this the day that we put out our crystals for charging? Is this the day? Do we write these things down, like intention wise? What is the physical stuff we need to be doing?
So yeah, that's a great question. And the way that manifestation works for me, and the way that I have described it and sort of like my philosophy on it is that manifestation is about veracity, and veracity is about fearless truth telling, being really, really honest. And I believe that when we manifest something, we're not actually trying to get something into our lives that shouldn't already be there. It's us charting the difference between where we are today and where our soul knows we need to go. So it's really just sort of the pathway to get to what we need to receive in this lifetime, right? Whatever that means and however that needs to express itself in our unique journeys through this world. So when we are manifesting, we're doing both physical actions and also spiritual actions to arrive at that destination. So the physical actions are like, I'm going to apply for new jobs, or I'm going to send out an email. And then the spiritual actions are like, I'm going to light this candle to represent my efforts, or I'm going to lay out this crystal to charge up so that this is sort of a symbol. This becomes sort of this external version of my own confidence. So whenever I hold this, I can reconnect with what my intention is. So it's really like doing a manifestation ritual, like what I'm going to be doing tonight in my community, the Constellation Club, is really just, it's helping us align both the physical and the spiritual so that we can arrive where we need to be.
In your line of work, do you see a lot of people fighting against this, that fight against growing, that fight against like the messages they're receiving from astrology in a sense?
Yes, I do. I mean, I think that being honest is really scary and really, it's, we're afraid to be vulnerable, and manifesting requires that level of sort of humility and vulnerability and willingness to sort of embarrass ourselves. And I understand that like we're not necessarily going to tell a stranger or the internet all of the things that we want.
Unless you're on Twitter,
right,
then it's a
of
mess.
course,
Yeah.
of course. But we also have to practice being honest with ourselves. And I think that over the course of our lives, we're told so many times, especially when we're kids, that we're called silly, or the ideas that we have are seen as unrealistic or unbelievable. And that over time makes it so that we don't trust ourselves as much.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
trust what we want. So I think a lot of this work is also about cultivating a stronger relationship with ourselves so that we learn to believe ourselves when we say that we want something, or so that we can really learn how to sort of question our intentions with something. And I also, another real important tenet of mine is that we need to have a strong why when we're manifesting. Why do you want the thing that you want? Why are you setting those intentions? Why do you want love? Why do you want $1 million?
Yeah, it's the why. Yeah, the why. I mean, I come from an acting background, and that was it too. It just in breaking down any script is the why. Is that it's such the key question. You had mentioned the Constellation Club, and I was online, and I was like, this thing looks insanely awesome. If you guys are a part of it already, but you have like the coven meeting, which is tonight, then book club, which is Tuesday, then astrology looking ahead on Thursday of next week. Then you have a coven meeting for the new moon on the 20th at 8 p.m. and then an money manifestation on the 31st. So this is part of, what is the Constellation Club? Because this seems like, I'm like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, thanks. So it's a virtual community that I founded in 2019. And we have hundreds and hundreds of members from all around the world. And it's really a space where people can go. There's workshops, there's tons of resources, because we're constantly doing new programming. All of that is then saved, so you can watch replays of so many videos, so many workshops. There's so many PDFs.
So it's like master class, because you can keep going back and like watching past videos and things like that. Wow.
Totally.
Okay.
But the real emphasis to me is the community. It's really cool now having, the Constellation Club existed for as many years as it has. People make their best friends in this space. In real life, there's chapters all over the world. So if you're looking for people who have sort of shared interests in astrology or tarot or just spirituality in general, like you'll find people that want to talk about that with you. And it's really cool.
This is completely away from astrology, but what do you like to watch? What are your guilty pleasures? What do you do when you are not reading stars and going so deep? What do you do? What do you like to do entertainment wise?
I like to watch Curb. I like to watch Seinfeld, which is
by the way, Seinfeld is my like go to sleep at night every night to a season of Seinfeld every night. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm actually on the last season right now, and I'm sort of panicking because I'm not really sure, because it's really like delivered for a long time. This journey for months. But I also am dabbling, I went to Nathan For You. I went to The Rehearsal. I really like smart comedies.
The Rehearsal, did that blow you away? Like the
away.
intensity of The Rehearsal, which we talked about a lot on the show in November, you guys, with Nathan Felder, like really doing things on a different level that I thought was so fascinating, and kind of really opened things up in terms of comedy and what you can do with it, I thought. And those are the things I love as well. I know you probably don't do a lot of Housewives, but the card deck reminded me of, like, there's a character, Lisa Rinna, who I'm sure you know of. she kept saying that she was seeing a bird that was her mom because her mom had passed away.
See,
And
we
she
call
kept
that
saying, that's
tank.
Lois. She kept saying, that's Lois. And that's Tank in terms of that. But
Yeah.
that's exactly what these cards, also the manifestation cards, are dealing with as well. Because I was thinking about that immediately. In 2023, you say this is a year of possible renewal. And month to month, how do we check in with ourselves besides like pulling a card every day and doing these things? How do we check in with our progress? How do we know that we are on the right path and stay the course? What are your recommendations for that?
Great question. This is one of the reasons that I love doing new moon and full moon work, is because we have 2 checkpoints a month always. We always have a new moon and we always have a full moon every month. And these are really great opportunities for us to check in with ourselves, make sure that we are being true to ourselves, make sure that we feel like we are still aligned with our greater goals and ambitions, and make sure that we're also doing good spiritual hygiene, which is letting go of things that we do not want to hold on to anymore, and also really articulating the things that we are interested in and the things that are meaningful to us. Because this is another thing that I think, this is bad spiritual hygiene, right? Is saying you want something. Let's say saying that you want to get married, right? Saying you want to get married, and then just sort of being so tunnel vision on that goal that you start losing sight of other important things in your life. Like, for instance, whether the person you're dating is actually someone that you get along with, or whether they're
oh, that little thing. Oh, you're supposed to get along with the people?
Yeah, right. Casually. It's important to not just say to make a statement and then move towards that without any adjustment. One of the most amazing things that we have the ability to, as humans, do is change our mind. And I think that there is so much spiritual value in shifting how we feel based on what we have learned and our growth. So checking in with ourselves every new moon and full moon, whether or not it's formally or informally, just, knowing on your phone that it's like, oh, I'm seeing an alert that there's a new moon or a full moon. Let me use that as a marker for just making sure that the things that I care about are actually being implemented in my life.
And that's why it really is important to sit down there and write these things out, is write the intentions out, write the why out, is so you can continually check back in with that. You had brought up marriage or dating just a second ago, and talking about bad spiritual hygiene, which I love the term spiritual hygiene, did you set out to get married last year? Did you was that an intention? Was that or, do you set those? Because that's bad spiritual hygiene. So I don't imagine you did. But how do you use this in your actual life?
Well, I really adjust I would say that this upcoming full moon is kind of going to be the exception, because this full moon, I'm going to be working on setting a time capsule for 2023, which I'm not going to open until the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024. I did one for 2022, which I'm going to be opening tonight.
And what does that mean exactly? A time capsule of memories, a time capsule
of intentions. So
okay,
manifestation time capsule. So basically what I did at the end of 2021, beginning of 2022, is I wrote out all of the things that I wanted to bring into my life and lock them in a box. And then the philosophy there is set it and forget it, right? Like these are longer term goals. So instead of needing to constantly monitor the progress of these things, we're going to trust that the universe is taking care of these things, and we're going to see what happens in the next year. So I'm opening that box tonight.
That's
and
so exciting.
I have no idea what I wrote. No idea.
Oh
so I'm going to be really interested to see.
What was last year like? Did you have a good track record last year when you opened the box?
I did. Yeah. And there are some things that did not come to fruition, right? But the things that came to fruition, I had so much more perspective on because life happens, things change all the time. So some of the things that I had wanted in the 2 years ago were things that were just no longer relevant, or things that it was a relationship or a dynamic or a partnership that turned out not to be good at all. You know, it was like things that I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that that didn't happen. Or it's things that I'm still waiting for. You know, it's things that I'm still that just need a little bit more time. But the progress and the growth shows that it's moving in the direction that I'm hoping it would go in.
I know I just have a little more time with you, but may I ask, like, how did you, once again, like, just for people that are just hearing you for the first time, how did you get into all of this? Like, how did you learn you had this gift? What attracted you to this? At what age did you start?
Well, I had always been interested in sort of more esoteric and mystical things. But it got more serious, and it sort of set the tone for what was going to be my career in my early 20s. I had moved to Los Angeles, and I was soul searching. Yeah, I know. I mean,
I'm in Los Angeles. That's what we do out here. That's all we do. It's just a
yeah.
bunch of people with lost souls. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I just took it a little too far.
Yeah.
I just, when I moved out to LA, I wasn't pursuing a career in entertainment. I was actually working in the art world, and I was technically living the life that I came out to live. But I was finding myself extremely unfulfilled, and really also, having a bit of an identity crisis. I also had found that I was sort of like lying to different people about who I was and what my background was. And it wasn't like this very, I wasn't like trying to tell false truths. It was that I just didn't really know who I was. And all of that started to kind of compound in this way where I was like, I'm not sure even what I'm doing. I don't know who I am. And at that time, I was kind of looking for different meaning and answers. And I found some insight on astrology, which gave me this, it let me know that I was not just this Leo sun, but I was also a Pisces moon. And at that time, that was sort of like my gateway drug into astrology, because suddenly it allowed me to craft myself as and understand myself as a multidimensional person. And I was really looking for that. I was looking for some sort of a mirror into recognizing that that I was a complicated person with like a complicated past and a complicated life. And that's really,
okay too.
Yeah. And that was beautiful. And that was who I was. And that was really eye-opening for me. And I started to learn more about myself. And as I started to learn more about myself, I also wanted to see, who are these people in my life? Who are my friends and who are my colleagues? And I started to look at their astrology too. In 2013, I co-founded an astrology dating app with a friend of mine from college, sort of in response to that work that I was doing. And even though we were very ahead of the time and the app ended up closing in 2016, I have been now doing astrology as my full-time job for 10 years, which is really wild and unexpected. And from there, I moved back to New York in 2016, and I opened a private practice, and I continued to study with my mentors. And I guess it's really one of those, like when you find the thing that you love doing, you're just going to feel good doing it. Yeah.
Astrology gave you a foundation to find yourself. But what's so interesting now is that you're able to help people find themselves and actually do really, really hard work. Like I think about like the work that I have to do at the gym with my trainer, but this emotional work is just as important. And this spiritual hygiene, which you speak of, is just as important for us to be these kind of healthier people that are actively going towards goals and spirituality and things of that nature. Right.
And then like, even, I think that it gives us a really great framework for being able to understand what lights us up, and like I have this little expression, go where the energy flows, which is like, when we're looking at ourselves and we're seeing our chart and we're seeing who we are from this astrological perspective, we can really identify like, oh, these are the things that make me happy. These are the things that bring joy into my life. These are the things I like that light me up. And to identify those and to be able to sort of move towards those is going to allow us to really integrate full body, who we want to be in this lifetime, which I think is just really meaningful.
And it's never too late, you guys, to start that. You can't, it's not like there's a time like you have to like start by this age. You can do this at any age and start doing the work on that. And I think that's why the deck and everything that you do are so important, because we do need guides in this life. We can't do this on our own. And that's like so important that somebody can communicate clearly to us about these are the things and how to do the things. And this is going to help us kind of just grow, which I think 2023 should be all about. Really quickly, did you, because I know, not that you like celebrity pop culture, you've talked about on other shows and stuff like that. Did you predict any of the Kardashian craziness or the Kanye stuff last year? Did any of that, was that at all? Did you look at any of their charts, the Kardashians last year?
So yes and no. I mean, I have definitely looked at their charts over the course of last year. It's like so hard to, there were so many things that happened last year. It's so hard to remember. This is sort of tangential to it, but I will say that there's an interesting thing. The Pete Davidson, Kim Kardashian breakup was 100%. It was like so aligned with the astrology. It was unbelievable. That was like a really delightful, that was a delightful timing for us astrologers to see, because he's going through his Saturn return, which is a really important astrological transit, which is when you technically become your own father in astrology. We know from his story is that he lost his dad very tragically.
Yeah.
So like this concept of being a father is something that is meaningful in his life and in his own evolution. So I thought it was really interesting that a lot of the, I can't say like Kanye's journey, but like Kanye Kanye 2022, early 2022, a lot of his outbursts at that time were about Pete parenting his children. And I thought that was really interesting in terms of Pete's timing of becoming a father, so to speak, and sort of learning how to become his own, to take care of himself in that capacity. I thought that was a really interesting sort of symbol to see how there was a lot of conversation around that last year.
Yeah, no, it was very interesting to watch that all go down. And it seems like it was many, many years ago. But as I reminded the audience this week, that was just this past year, a lot of this that happened.
Yeah. Can we pull a card?
I would love to. Can we?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't like, I feel like I don't want to ever abuse your talents or anything like that, but that would be incredible.
No, let's see what we get.
Okay.
What should we pull a card for?
Can we pull a card for how dark or how happy do we want to get? I mean, like
wait, Ryan, remind me of your sign.
I'm Taurus.
Love it.
By the way, the look, she was like, yeah, okay, got it.
I love it.
Of course. Will So Bad It's Good continue to grow this that needs to be more specific.
Well, you can ask anything and I might adjust it for you. So don't.
Well, I'm saying will So Bad It's Good continue to grow like it has the last 3 years to a place that I'm hoping it grows to.
Well, I am going to say yes without even needing to pull a card.
Perfect. Let's just do that.
No, but for the deck, I would say that, asking less of a yes or no question and more of a how question is better. So we can say, how will it grow? Or what should we know about the podcast in the upcoming year? What's a message we need to know about it?
What is the message I should know for the podcast in the upcoming year?
Okay, I love it. So, Ryan, do you want me to, I'm going to make 3 piles here.
Yeah.
Should I work with pile 1, 2, or 3?
3.
Beautiful. All right. So let's see what should we know about the podcast in the year 2023? Oh, this one wants to come out. Okay. This is perfect.
Okay.
Because we got Earth, which is amazing because you as a Taurus are an Earth sign. And now from the guidebook, rather.
There are no coincidences, you guys, which I'm going to put the link in this. This is the guidebook.
Yeah. So it's the keywords are stability, materiality, and safety. And the tank is soils, leaves, wood, mountain, the zodiac signs of Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. And as you can see, there's a lot of text. It's like a pretty hefty guidebook. So I'm gonna just sort of like read.
Yeah. Just overview. Yeah, you wrote it, so yeah.
It says, "What do you have? What do you want? How will you get it?" Metaphysical practices teach us to spark passion, to ignite creativity, think abstractly to generate new ideas, and explore our deepest emotions to hone our extrasensory intuition. But actually integrating these skills within daily life is a completely different story. No matter how skilled you may be at navigating the non-physical astral realm, the domain of wishes and spirits and synchronicities, you are, for better or worse, a product of nature in need of nutrients and shelter and support. Likewise, the Earth card requires us to connect with the physical domain, food, resources, movement, to ensure that we are both present and firmly anchored. The Earth card compels you to drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, and feel the ground beneath your feet. You're here, you're alive. Now ask yourself again, what do you really need?
Oh, I love that.
So for me, this card says that this is about really creating grounded, stable systems for the podcast in the year ahead.
Oh my God. If Maritza and Sandra are listening to this, you know exactly what that means. So that is perfect to hear. Man, Aliza, thank you so much. I get such a good vibe every time I talk to you, or even when I was going through your Instagram, I'm like, man, it's like, you remind me to do the work in the best way possible. Like I don't mean that as like, cause sometimes work is associated with bad things and work should be associated with kind of amazing things and growth. And I always feel that when I talk to you or look at anything you're involved with, you can find everything about Aliza. It's also, you just have the website, alizakelly.com, right?
Yep, that's right.
But so we can get this guidebook, which by the way, the guidebook is like a hefty, like it's like a book itself, plus the cards. You can get that anywhere right now, correct?
Yep.
And the Constellation Club, which I think is just such a great, like amazing value as well, especially if you're looking to really do the work in 2023. What else is coming up for you? I mean, you just got married. Like these are all huge things. Is 2023 all just about more growth for you? Like it just seems like you're kind of exploding again. And I thought that a couple of years ago.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. This year, this is one of the first years that I'm coming into a new year really just open to see what is going to happen and where things are going to take me. And I'm actually really excited about that because I am an over planner. I am definitely, I skew towards type A. So for me, it's actually very spiritual. It's good spiritual hygiene to step back from that and just be more receptive. So that's how I'm coming into the year.
Do you ever get scared still, or like with this work, there's no reason for fear because whatever happens will happen, whatever will be, will be. I mean, do you still get anxious and things like that?
Of course. But I have over the years cultivated a really helpful tool in being able to discern anxiety from intuition, which seems to also resonate with others as well. So I'll share it here, which is that anxiety is triggered by something and it is a siren. It's something that gets louder and louder and sort of builds on itself and grows and expands. And intuition is a whisper. So when I am finding myself getting scared or anxious about something, I look at the quality of that experience. And if it's something that it's like, oh, I sent this text and then I didn't hear back. And what if something bad happened? And are they okay? And that's not intuition, right? Because that was something that got evoked and now is spiraling and is a siren sound. Whereas an intuition is really it's very quiet. It doesn't have an agenda. And it has just it's like a soft whisper as opposed to something that is loud and consuming. So knowing that has really been able to help me identify, even when I'm reading my own upcoming astrology, if I get nervous about something I see, it's like, am I getting nervous about this because this triggered something in me? Or am I getting nervous because it's an intuitive whisper? And frankly, it's very never an intuitive whisper. My fear is always based in anxiety.
That's amazing. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today. You guys, alizakelly.com, this guidebook and cards. I think this is something that you need to have. I just even like it, like you said earlier, that it's just a conversation starter. I mean, you can use it for so many different purposes, but I think this is something that you need in your lives. I'm going to need it in mine for 2023. And thank you so much. I hope to talk to you in the next couple of years as well and see where
Yes.
we all landed. And I'm really curious what came true from your 2022 manifestations, which you're doing tonight. But happy full moon or new moon or
Yes, happy
all of
full
that stuff.
moon.
Happy full moon. Okay, that's it. alizakelly.com. Thank you so much, Aliza.
Thank you so much.